Welcome to Vision Voices podcast channel. Today's guest is someone who embodies what it means to be both future-facing and deeply grounded. Lucy Chow is an investor, futurist, board advisor, and a powerful advocate for women in leadership and innovation. Whether she's supporting entrepreneurs in an LP in global funds or co-publishing the upcoming Women of the Future UAE, a coffee table book celebrating 100 game-changing women, Lucy is helping shape the narrative of progress across the region. I'm thrilled to welcome her to Vision Voices. Thank you very much for making it happen to Portstra and Vision Voices podcast. I know you're traveling a lot and you're coming to the UAE for work projects now. So I'm really, really honored to have you as part of your sort of busy schedule.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Lucy, I would like to start with something that I've been trying to understand and to reflect myself when I was looking at your profile. See, your portfolio of your projects is very, very rich. And so you've dedicated a lot of time to mentor the next generation, either women or just generally the next generation of people. You've dedicated so many projects to also, developing the innovation, be it gaming, investments, or any other spaces. What is your personal motivation behind that? What is the personal ties that so motivates you to get into those projects?
Yeah,
maybe a little bit of your personal story.
Right. No, I guess I realize I'm a lifelong learner, but I only realize that that is actually a trait of a lot of amazing people, right? That's a trait of leaders, and I heard a great saying yesterday that why we do so well in the UAE, and I'm a product of the UAE. I mean, we've been here 18 years, and why the UAE is like the best ecosystem for an individual or a business is because there is no politics in the government of the UAE. They don't allow politics to get in the way. What they do is, like a really good government should, they set the vision and then private sector follows. Here's the vision and here's the opportunity for private sector. So I really think that I've imbued a lot of that in my personality, but it obviously matches all the people who themselves decide to come here. So we must already have it in us, right? That we're intellectually curious, we want to keep thriving, we want to progress. And so we're very much aligned with the vision of the UAE. So I don't know that I'm any different from yourself, for instance.
Well, my story in the UAE is quite long. I mean, it's I consider it to be quite long. So I grew up here as a professional, right? And I mean, I've been here for 15 years. So I would like to ask you, how long was your journey here in the UAE?
Yeah.
Where did you start? And how did you come to the current sort of status?
Yeah,
of the
so
UAE?
I kind of, when I first got here, I knew I didn't want to remain in a corporation. I could have stayed working with HSBC, which is the company I had been with for almost 10 years. So I tried my hand at different things. And a lot of it was BD. A lot of it was business development for different companies, because at the time we got here, there were companies and individuals I knew from Hong Kong that wanted to set up, but they weren't sure they wanted to set up an office. So they had me be the front person. So one company was it was a coffee table publisher, coffee table book publisher. Another was a yacht rental company. And so there were all these different companies that wanted me to help them do the business development, which I really enjoyed. But then after a while, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I should try hanging out a shingle. So I started the Elements Group, which is event marketing, and that was my background. And at the time, I really wanted to put together unique events for corporations, really bringing in thought leaders, perhaps authors. I mean, we had so many, even at that point in time, so many amazing intellectuals coming through, but I didn't think we were tapping them well enough. And so that's what I did for a few years. And then a friend said, how about we start an angel network that only focuses on getting more women to invest and to become angels and to teach them to become angels. And we would only invest the money in female founders. And my response was, oh no, I know nothing about angel investing. No. And then her point was, no, that's the point. We need to teach more women to feel comfortable investing in this space. And so I know we had a bit of a conversation about this. And part of the journey is the learning. How do you do due diligence? And there's so many acronyms. And, I talk a lot about this where the industry, the VC industry, the investing industry is not female friendly. There's a lot that's like, whether it's intentional or not, that's off-putting. And so we need to demystify the whole investing landscape for women.
This is a very, very relevant conversation for me because I grew to become an angel investor here in the UAE for the first time, and it was 2 years ago, and definitely a project of my passion, but still that was a big step for me. And I've realized that I did that because I trusted the founder, I knew him personally, and that was the reason why I did this, right? But if I were to choose a project where I don't know the founder, or probably a project not of my passion, but just investment point of view, I really, really know very little about how to act and what would be the next step here in the UAE so that I could make the right decision. So the knowledge like that is really, really relevant for me. So what's latest from your point of view? Has the situation become better, improved, let's say in the UAE? Because last time when we spoke a step, the numbers you were sharing were pretty horrifying, right? Yes, they were really scary about how little the percent of the women who are actually ready to invest.
Yes, I want to answer your question in two ways. So let's first talk about how much money is going to female investors. Unfortunately, it is still very dismal. As a matter of fact, Magnet just came out with their report. It starts off really positive. Essentially, there was a huge influx of investing in the month of April. It was, I believe it was over 100% more than the month of March, and way more than the same period last year. Unfortunately, only 500,000 US, actually, I think less than 500,000 US went to female-founded companies. That is not even worth talking about. I'm sorry. It is so discouraging.
Let's recap. So what are the core reasons why this percentage is so small?
Yeah, I'm scratching my head trying to figure it out because the majority of the deals were early stage.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll say, okay, there's not enough funding for women because it's a pipeline issue. If women aren't getting the funding at the early stage, they don't get to the later stage. But in this situation in March, a lot of the money went to early stage companies, and there's a lot of female founders in the early stage category. So I think it goes back to unconscious bias, meaning that when, similar to earlier when you were talking about investing and you found out this friend was raising, lots of times, like if men are talking to each other or investors are talking to each other, well, who do they know? They're talking to other men, right? So, and then who are the founders that those investors know? Men tend to know other male founders.
Yeah.
So I really do feel we need to get more men in the room when we have females pitching. I'm part of a fabulous organization that I would love for you to come out and attend some of their events. 2022 Female Angels. And we have the executive committee puts together pitch events every 3 months. And it's primarily female founders. But usually in the room, the majority of people are female.
Yeah.
But we need to have more men that are investors because they're still the ones that are the predominant check writers.
For sure. And so what do you sort of female investors and founders who are pitching for, who are raising the money, for example, what do they need, in your opinion, improve from their side? What kind of skills do they need to gain to be able to be taken much more serious?
No, and I think it's not even whether they're taken serious or not. It comes down to one basic thing, and that's your network. As a female founder, you need to network.
Yeah.
A network. And it needs to be, you need to network with men.
Yeah.
You really need to network with men because they're still the primary GPs, LPs and funds. And then as your network expands, like a lot of angels do, once they've invested in a company, they believe in the founder, they start telling other investors. And so that's that kind of domino effect is really important for women founders.
And it's a very, very sensitive subject here in the UAE, I guess. So we probably need to take into consideration the culture and traditions, right?
Right. I mean, I think I think it's so tough because when we call ourselves 2022 female angels, then naturally men will opt out, right? Because they're like, okay, it's an angel event for females. I think we need to just be more conscious of that, and just more, and we need to be, and we actually say we welcome men, and we are actually starting to have men pitch also, because all we really want to do is to move the dial in terms of how many women become angels. We're not excluding male angels. We're not excluding male entrepreneurs. We just want more women being investors. And if they invest in male startups, male-founded startups, great. In diverse teams, great.
Yeah.
Female it's all helping the entrepreneurial ecosystem grow here.
Absolutely, because I think like any diverse environment, that only becomes stronger and sort of 360-degree sort of multiple-sided, and it actually brings I don't know, knowledge and experience and impressions and emotions from different,
So
it's diversity always rules the world, I think, as long as there's a culture that can accept it and can truly integrate the diversity there.
Right.
So I think it's probably one of those aspects here, right?
No, 100%. And innovation thrives when you have diverse perspectives. And that is required, whether it's at a board level, in a C-suite level, or in a startup. And so you're absolutely right. That's the best argument for diversity.
Definitely. Yeah. So coming back to the work that you've done here in the region for, highlighting and spotlighting women. So I know that you've been working on a really important, or you're working now on a really important project, which is called Women of the Future UAE, right?
Yes.
So can you tell us a little about that project? And that's a beautiful book as well, right? That you brought with us.
The final project will be a coffee table book. And in it,
looks gorgeous, by the way.
It's a stunning corporate gift. Actually, is what it's essentially a platform. So one of the things I really want women to feel comfortable doing is to go on podcasts, maybe host podcasts, be open about becoming a speaker, or being open about nominating themselves or being nominated to appear in books like Women of the Future. So this is a project that was started by a publishing house based out of South Africa. They've done 2 versions of this globally. And when I found out about this, and they choose 100 women globally to be featured in this book, Women of the Future. When I found out about this project, I was like, this is a perfect project to provide a platform to showcase the awesomeness of all the incredible women in different sectors of the UAE. So I had a chance to talk to the publishers. They totally agreed. They knew the region, and so we're off. And so essentially, the link has already come up. So Women of the Future has a LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
They have Instagram. And a website. So on that, any of those platforms, you can find the nomination link. So I want women from all sectors to nominate themselves if they feel that they're pushing the envelope in whatever sector they're working in. And I want the final product to showcase women from all sectors, ethnicity, background, age groups. And to help me with that, I have this amazing editorial board of 12 awesome individuals, and I'm starting to put in my LinkedIn and my Instagram the videos of each of those editorial board members, so that people can see. Yeah, so they have the hard decision to make to decide who are the 100 women that go into the book, but the final product is a coffee table book.
That's interesting, right? Yeah. And so what kind of future do you see for the project like that? Do you see it developing into, let's say, a physical community, or
yes.
Okay.
I love that you're saying this. So that is also the vision of the actual publishing company. They, so for instance, it was really interesting. The women that have been featured, they are very active on a WhatsApp group, and they've remained very active on a WhatsApp group. They are so proud of having been featured. The majority of them listed in their LinkedIn, right, as part of their profile. And we definitely want to take it further because I think there's a similar project happening in Canada, so that it becomes a community of doers and we can support each other around the world. We can have events that profile these women, or if we know of opportunities, we can share it out with this community. So there's a lot that can be done. If we keep active.
You've been recognized by a number of media organizations, including, let's say, Arabian Business. You've been included into the list of 75 faces of UAE. So when you look back at your honors and, your recognitions, which ones felt the most personal and the most unexpected ones, probably?
This is like asking someone to choose their favorite child. And I honestly, every single one is an honor. It is an absolute honor. I don't believe in paid PR. So that happens a lot now. Okay, so there's two sides of my brain when I'm saying this, okay? So on the one hand, I'm like, ladies, get out there, get yourself known, okay? Then on the other hand, they're probably like, but Lucy, if I do this paid PR, doesn't that kind of leverage and give me a leg up? And so it does. But I really do think that if you have something to give the world, and we all do, we don't need to pay for it, right? Just like I always say, and probably because I do a lot of speaking, I just say, please get comfortable speaking publicly, whether it's on a lovely podcast like this, which with a big reach, or on a stage, or in a school. Like, just start somewhere and use your voice. Or, okay, if you don't want to use your voice, maybe you're really good at writing. Write a blog, right? Write on LinkedIn. Be a guest columnist for a magazine. There are different ways of getting yourself known, but find your platform. Find the platform that you're comfortable with. So I guess when definitely, like, whenever the Arabian Business stuff came out, it was all a shock. I would not have known. they wouldn't have told me.
No, that's absolutely that is an absolutely brilliant example of how visibility works. And I have a related question to that. Did you have to overcome a certain sort of internal barriers? Because in a lot of cases, it's unnatural for us to like sort of want to be visible.
No, you're absolutely right. Yes. And I still do. I still talk about imposter syndrome because it's still very real. For me, yes, I do have to overcome. Okay, do I have enough knowledge to talk about this subject? Oh, really? I'm sure there's someone else that they can find, but I guess I just if a project or something resonates with me, then I'm like, okay, I'm happy to share my knowledge. Because one of my words to live by, how I live is, and this doesn't come from me originally, I stole it during COVID, is to share everything you know. So I really believe in that, to share everything you know, and it might be this much, but I'm sharing it.
And I guess there will not be a moment when you really feel comfortable with the imposter inside you, right? So you just have to learn how to live with that.
You have to push through it. And I've actually, I'm trying to remember some really good tips that people have given. I say that do not let, so live with it, but do not let it dissuade you from taking on a larger role in an organization. Like do not allow it to dissuade you from taking on another role that gives you a higher salary, because those are self-defeating. Those are real things that affect the future of your path, right? So yeah, definitely go for the bigger job, go for more money, ask for more money. These are things that are really important, that we don't self-sabotage where we go with our career, where we can go with our bank account.
Have you ever had a mentor?
The strange thing is, I really tell people they need to have a sponsor.
Right.
And so to answer your question, first of all, no, I don't really think I have, except perhaps my first boss out of university, she was a force. And my first job out of university was telemarketing, which is super hard. But I do feel everyone should have sales skills. We need sales ability. But it was bloody hard work. But she was an amazing motivator. So I guess she's probably the closest to a mentor I would have had. But I didn't know. I didn't know to ask people to be a mentor. I really regret that. But so now I'm all about, make sure you go and find someone that will speak your name in a room that you're not in. And if there's an opportunity and you're not there, they're going to say your name.
So I was going to ask you, so if you had a chance to sort of look back and see at any stage of your, let's say, professional life, be it within a corporation or later on when you started your public journey, for example, and you had a chance to choose a mentor, let's say, and the mentor, I mean a person who you can talk and discuss where to move forward next, right? So not necessarily even someone who will help you to get promoted, or someone who can discuss, advise, make your mind clearer, and be trustful, be honest, but also be supportive, perhaps. I don't know what is the best mentor, right? If you had a chance to have a mentor like that, who would that be? Be it a public figure, imaginative, a person.
Right.
So would you?
I really realize now that, when we're working, especially in a corporate, it takes up all our energy. And the natural thing would be to have thought of, I should have approached this person on the board of HSBC.
That's right, yes.
But no, I actually think if I was smarter and I had thought ahead, I would have found someone in a totally different industry, senior, perhaps well-known, but in a totally different industry that could have given me an outside perspective, because I think I was just too engrossed in my life and my corporate job to see that there was more outside of that job. So I don't have an actual name. I just know that I should have reached out to someone that was probably well known in a totally different industry that could have given me a different perspective.
That's interesting because, I on my podcast, Vision Voices, I've started actually raising a lot of conversations around career paths, because I understand that, especially for places like Dubai, which is very vibrant and which is also quite competitive in terms of the job market, conversation about career and how it can develop is very important. And I know we probably didn't plan this part of the conversation talking about career, but it's nice that we're opening up that part of your corporate background, moving to public projects, etc. So it's interesting. And one of the angles that I understand we should talk about career and the skills, it's not about the roles that you were taking, but actually the probably the projects, or probably what certain roles or what certain jobs taught you to do.
Okay.
Not necessarily from hard skills perspective. You mentioned telemarketing at the beginning.
Right.
What did that job taught you really to do? What kind of skill did you acquire, or maybe a knowledge or experience that pushed you to the next choice?
Yeah, well, now we know that we talk about resilience.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was developing resilience, and I don't know that word was commonly used way back when I started doing telemarketing. But boy, does sales and maybe having people, hang up on you when you're dialing for dollars. It teaches you resilience, right? You gotta put on that smile, and you just gotta keep going day after day to reach your sales goals, which is what was the motivator, right, for me. So resilience skills, but now what the important skills that we need revolve a lot around technology.
That's true,
right?
Yeah,
we really need to keep us.
technology.
It's advancing so quickly. The brightest people are trying to figure it out. They're like, how do I keep on top of? Yeah, and then actually, again, from the session that I went to yesterday, they were like, I don't know that you necessarily, like as a C-suite leader or as a business owner, that you need to feel you need to keep on top of it, but you do need to know the direction technology is going in, and then shame on you if you don't take action, right? So know where it's going, listen to podcasts, go to events, listen, and then decide and take action.
I know you're on a number of boards from EdTech to game innovation, right? So can you talk a little bit about that part of your career, and how did it happen? Is this in the intention to keep up with the technological innovations, or is it your curiosity?
Yeah. So this is the other thing. I don't think it ever, if you asked me 30 years ago, have you ever thought about sitting on a board? No, well, that's the whole problem. Nobody ever brought it up to me. Right? It wasn't in my psyche to sit on a board. And again, like a lot of women, it's not talked about. But yeah, more women should be thinking, I want to sit on a board, and how do I get there? And why do I want to sit on a board? I guess what happened was, again, because I was intellectually curious, I decided to take a board course. And it was specifically focused on getting women into directorship roles. And it was a fabulous board course. And part of it included bringing in the chairs of the Royal Mail to talk to us. It gave us so much insight into what actually happens in the boardroom, not just what you should know about the governance and the strategic direction, but really how, as a woman, should you hold yourself in a boardroom. And so I spend a lot of time now also trying to get more women to focus on their next step, what let's think about your next step, and you should think about taking a board role, whether it's paid or not paid. Usually you start with the non-paid ones, and then hopefully you get into roles, board roles where you get paid.
But I think it's also about the actual idea, right? So so the idea was in your head, and it allowed you to actually take the next steps, right?
Yes, I guess it somehow got in my head, probably because of the investing. And then I realized that oftentimes, depending on how much you invest, you would normally take a board role within the startup, right? If you can add value. And again, I guess I just wanted to make sure that I was up to speed before I put myself out there. But it is it's a real privilege to sit on any board. It really is, yeah.
So does it give you sort of a perspective as to what sort of technologies we need to look up, and consequently what products shall be developed, skills and the teams and organizational structures shall be in focus for the next, let's say, I can't even say 5 years.
I know.
Probably a year or two or three, and then we evaluate again, right?
Right. No, I saw a fabulous chart from the Visualist just the other day, and it talked about the skills that are most in demand in the next 10 years. Maybe, well, essentially the most in demand now. And so no surprise, things like AI, cybersecurity, and I was and health tech, but I was Internet of Things, but I was really happy to also see gaming and esports.
Why is that, by the way?
Because I wrote a book about changing the game.
Yeah.
Discover how esports and gaming are redefining business, careers, education, and the future. And so that title encapsulates everything that motivated me to put that book together. I wanted it to be a business book, because I wanted people to understand why that sector even mattered to them and why they should even pay attention to it. And this Visualist chart was telling us that esports, we already know esports and gaming have more eyeballs and are more profitable, right, than the entertainment, the movie and the sports industry combined, like more profitable than those two combined. So it is something we cannot ignore. Then the skill sets that one gets, if they're a gamer, is hugely transferable to everything, but also even if you feel like, okay, I'm a lawyer or I'm a doctor, or, esports gaming has nothing to do with me. It does. It's already embedded in our lives. And I love using the example of doctors that game before they perform, like half an hour before they perform an endoscopic or laparoscopic procedure. If they game 30 minutes before, they perform better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that. I love that statistic.
It's absolutely outstanding statistics. But do you know how it relates
yes,
to each other?
It has to do with the focus when they're playing the game. And I guess it's the clarity, strategy, right? When you're gaming, you're just super in focus on the game and an end result. And so I think it must sharpen. And then there's eye-hand coordination. I think that has a lot to do with it, because I think laparoscopic, endoscopic procedures are very precise.
Yeah.
So I think the eye-hand coordination has a lot to do with the success.
I'm just curious to understand, are you a gamer yourself? Or is it somehow linked to, I don't know, probably your children?
Yes, absolutely motivated by being a parent. And I was like many other parents who still to this day they see their child gaming and they're like, I wonder if they're gaming too much. Are they spending too much time? And it was actually my son, probably when he was 10, he was like, I know you just see me doing this, like in front of my computer, but you realize that there's kids that learn a second language because they game, because they're gaming with people that only speak like Korean or Japanese.
Right. Yeah.
You realize the eye-hand coordination that we're utilizing. There's leadership skills required if we're doing like group games, or even at the time he wasn't doing first person shooter games, but like there is so much involved when someone is actually gaming. And when you're playing even like Minecraft, which is what he started with, the mathematical skills required to construct buildings with those blocks, and kids are just doing it. They don't know.
I do find that kids, they absolutely think differently. They because they were born in a different era, and gaming sort of was integrated naturally into their lives, and the way they take normal physical events in their life, and somehow it probably sometimes feels that they've got those mechanics, the game mechanics behind how they understand things. If you know what I mean?
Yes.
And as much as we probably have to accept it, I have a question to you. So the fact that you were sort of looking at your son and the way he's gaming, so did it prompt you to actually understand whether it gives him something valuable or not? And do you think the games have changed since then?
So let me answer your question this way.
Yeah.
Someone said, okay, so if you had a daughter or son that was really into ballet or football or hockey, you would take them to practice like at 5 a.m. every day, wouldn't you? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And this friend was like, well, if they're into gaming, why wouldn't you support them the same way? And that's kind of like my aha moment. Like, oh. So then I went out, as I want to do, and I researched. And I went to conferences, and I read books, and then I met people. And it was then that I realized, oh my gosh, someone needs to write a book more from a business perspective as to why this industry is tied to the future of work, because we're all focused on, the future of work in the future, and why we should care. So it was because of being a parent, but then I was like, okay, I need to just discover myself. I need to understand more.
So how would you recommend a generation of parents
Right. Yeah.
to care about the gaming and what's coming for us in that format in business, let's say?
I mean, they need to read the book, first of all, because the book is actually, so there's two things related to the book.
Yeah.
There's 38 people that wrote a chapter. So they're all contributing authors. I'm not the subject matter expert. I found them in 5 continents, all different backgrounds, nationalities. So you read their chapter, which is very enlightening. Then you read the bio. And in the bios, you're going to find 38 amazing individuals, different industries you would never have thought. You're like, why would this person be interested in gaming? They've got a PhD in geography. How did they get hired by Microsoft? Or, oh, this person's a lawyer. How did they start a whole law business that only focused on the immigration of gaming players into the United States? I mean, there's so much opportunity in this sector. And so what, as parents, all we want is our kids to be gainfully employed. That's all we want. So right. If you want them to be gainfully employed and you want them to be a lawyer, well, look, they can be a lawyer and they can still somehow be in the gaming space, right? Oh, look, okay, they can get a PhD and they can still somehow be in the gaming space. So it really, I wanted this book to be in the hands of every school counselor. Yeah, because they're the ones advising our kids and parents so that they can see the potential of this industry.
I'm absolutely grateful for you sharing. And I'll be honest with you, that is not the popular opinion, I think, especially between the generation that we belong to and the parents, let's say. But when I'm looking at gaming through your lens, let's say, through your point of view and looking at it as something that is not going away anywhere, right? Say it's better to actually understand how it works. And I agree with you, it gives a lot of skills that we cannot master through a different activity, I guess.
Right. That's right. But also transferable skills, right? And just very basic statistics. People that watch games or that game tend to be more intelligent than the average individual. Well, don't we want our kids to be intelligent? And if you talk to people that game and watch it, they are very intelligent.
They are.
They really are. And so it is here to stay. But like with anything, obviously we don't want them gaming all the time. But there are Olympic athletes that are also elite gamers. I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive. So there is room for
how to integrate it. Yes.
into kids' lives.
I think schools in the UAE, frankly, are doing a really good job from how they integrate that gaming part into the learning process.
Yes, no, I love that you brought this up because there's a whole section in the book on education and gaming.
Yeah.
And gamification is something that schools should be looking at, and we're very good at that. Oh, and I'm super excited about the announcement that just came out this week, where starting in the fall, K1 to 12 students will all be taught AI, right? Isn't that just phenomenal?
It's phenomenal.
It's just unbelievable. And so gamification, students we don't want the sage on the stage anymore. We want them to, we want them to learn math in a fun way. And if it's fun through games, why wouldn't we want them to learn in a fun, engaging way?
I agree with you. And I think so the fact that you mentioned about the announcements in the UAE, I think UAE has genuinely made a huge leap towards AI and the amount of innovation and projects that are supported that are actually driving adoption of AI in the UAE is absolutely outstanding in my opinion. So, and my question to you would be, if you for example, if you look at the UAE as a country, right, the country where you've been recognized as one of the 75 faces, let's say, or you've spent also your career here, you worked with different organizations. So, how do you see the direction? Not from the probably, strategic perspective, but so. Would you change anything? Would you pay attention to something and to something that matters for this particular region and for this particular country, be it a technology perspective, be it a culture, be it a social trend, let's say, something that shapes this society as a society where you've spent quite a big time, part of your life?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess this goes back to the beginning of our conversation about why things work so well here. And I guess it is to take a look at what are the aspirations of this country. What does it mean when we talk about, Project Gaming 2033, for instance? Where can I find a place for myself that aligns with the vision of where the government is investing time and money and knowledge. So one of the areas that's dear to me is education.
Yeah.
And so for us to be stay ahead of the game, and the government knows this, is to also look at interesting programs from outside that can be brought here. And that's another project I'm sort of working on, and that is to bring incredible programs like the Iovine and Young Academy from the University of Southern California. They're a very unique intersectional degree to bring out practical entrepreneurs at the end of the 4 years. That totally aligns with what's going on in the direction of the country. So that's why I totally can understand that is a satellite program that I would like to see here, for instance. So I'm a big advocate of education. So I would say, try to keep an eye on what's going on the education side.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough private schools here, right? To match the population growth.
It's a growing population.
So if you had to look at one sector and to see what could be done, what else can be, there must be a huge opportunity with this announcement alone.
Yeah, for sure.
right? The teachers the educators need to be educated.
Yeah.
So there are people already reaching out to me asking, okay, how can I get involved in helping the government to realize this K1 to 12 AI curriculum?
That's interesting. That is absolutely outstanding, in my opinion. And I think the conversation with you, Lucy, can go from from strategic and regional perspectives all the way to, let's say, probably smaller, very niche topics like women in investment, angel women, or what it takes to become a self-sustained female in the UAE. There are so many things that we could actually cover, and one probably episode is not really enough. But I'm really, really grateful for you to making it happen today, considering your busy schedule.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Lovely.